The following review contains spoilers. You have been warned.
Army of the Dead is a heist movie that takes place during a zombie outbreak inside the walled-off Vegas Strip. Through terrible decision-making and ignored plot resolution, the movie asks, can $200,000 fit inside 5 duffel bags? The answer is no. No, it can't. That's a lot of money. It's really heavy. I'm the Beardo, and this is a movie I just watched. I like to watch movies. I like to talk about movies. Let's talk about this one. Army of the Dead is written by Zack Snyder, based on a story by Zack Snyder, produced by Zack Snyder, directed by Zack Snyder, and he made himself director of photography. Now, if you're wondering if Zack's ever been the director of photography, watch this movie. It's pretty clear he hasn't. Overall, the more involved Zack Snyder is in a movie or a project, the more likely it's going to be an overdeveloped train wreck. I don't know who introduced Zack to Shallow Depth of View, but you know what? The whole f***ing movie looked like a goddamn food commercial.
I'm going to shoot Army because I'm going to shoot the entire movie wide open. There's never going to be a stop on any lens for the entire film.
Or did somebody casually drop the word bokeh in a conversation and he's like, bokeh, what's that? And they're like, it's the blurred effect from having a shallow depth of view. And he's like, man, I'm going to bokeh all over these zombie faces. And he does. All over them. Every one of them.
What in tarnation?
I cleaned my glasses like they've never been cleaned before and then just continue to look on in confusion. I am a fan of using shallow depth of view in certain circumstances. It makes perfect sense for bringing in tension or creating distance or just limiting the information that we receive on screen to kind of heighten the moment. Zack Snyder managed to ruin depth of field for everybody. They're gonna have to take movie lenses and remove the f-stop from it and just put Snyder stop so he knows when not to go too damn far. So anyways, the movie opens with a military caravan driving down the highway at speed unknown. It's got 2 people inside the lead Humvee, and they're riffing on what could be possibly in the payload that they're carrying. We flash over to a couple that's driving the other way. They look like they just got married. The wife's about to commiserate on how successful the wedding was by giving him a blowjob. Flash back and forth between the two. A little bit more riffing from the military folk, a little bit more sucking from the new wife, and you can kind of see where things are going. Car is starting to careen all over the place. The Humvee folk aren't paying attention. Suddenly, headlights, Humvee steers off, and the car, which seems to be made out of some sort of high-grade explosive, hits one of the caravan trucks and explodes into a gigantic fireball. The military folk jump out and do military shit. Meanwhile, the Paul Rudd that we have at home gets on the horn and starts talking to dispatch. He's all like, hey, we got into a car accident. We need emergency help. Dispatch is all like, sure, what's up with the payload? He looks around confused like that's the first time anybody's ever said that word aloud in English, then remembers that he's just had a whole conversation about the thing that he was put in charge of, and goes, oh yeah, payload, it's been compromised. Lady at dispatch is like, you need to get the hell out of there. He's like, I don't understand words. What are you trying to tell me to do? She's like, I didn't say it in Swahili. Why are we still having this conversation? Get the hell out of there. Suddenly, ninja zombie comes storming out of the payload and just everybody up. And here we have our first instance of somebody with an automatic weapon just watching shit go down. He's holding the gun like, man, that zombie is messing them up. Look at him go. I think he just tore Steve's face off. Man, I hope somebody does something. Meanwhile, the zombies down there running around faster than Usain Bolt. Sergeant Stupid doesn't know what the hell to do with himself, so he goes and grabs his buddy that's inside the perfectly working Humvee, pulls him out of it, and is like, man, we need to make a walk for it. They go walk over the hill, and surprise, the zombie gets there and kills them both. And then we get the great big scene of Vegas. And honestly, this sort of sets the tone for the entire movie. And then it goes into that incredible cinematic intro that we all got to see online for free. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel 100% duped. That 15 minutes or so basically proved that Zack is an incredible filmmaker when given a limited time frame. It had a beginning, middle, and an end. It had a very creative way of introducing the character and the people that they had lost. It showcased everything that happened after the main bad zombie showed up and fucked up the whole city. It gave us an idea of how Vegas got walled off. It gave us a look at the quarantine camps. We got to see naked zombies, and it showcased one of the few times that he actually picks a good song for a good scene. Now this seems to happen when he uses Richard Cheese and Lounge Against the Machine. He did this in Dawn of the Dead when he used their cover of Down with the Sickness. Him using them here with their cover of Viva Las Vegas was a fantastic choice. But then the movie continues. So this mega hype train of an intro allowed us to kind of see that the big zombie had come through. He'd messed up Vegas. Vegas turned into a pit. They walled it off with storage containers that are evidently unclimbable. The military lost the war against these zombies and kind of gave up. Decided to quarantine off anybody that was near the strip in these little camps that, you know, house like maybe 50 people. And then the military basically on off out of there. There are no zombies anywhere else in the world. They were only in Las Vegas, and somehow they were just sort of hanging out waiting for the military to cordon them off. Our eventual stars of the movie all make an appearance, and as it sort of fades away, we're given a news message that the government has decided the only way to take care of the zombies that they were able to corral at one point is to drop a nuclear warhead on them. And the rest of the plot's pretty straightforward. Scott Ward, who's played by Dave Bautista, is approached by Mr. Tanaka, who's played by Hiroyuki Sanada. Mr. Tanaka has $200,000 in a vault that he no longer has the code for, I'm guessing, that the insurance company has already paid him out for. He's asking Scott to go in with a team and retrieve as much money of it as possible, of which he'll get $50 million to split amongst his people. The plan, we find out, is for them to sneak into Las Vegas, get down into the vault with a safecracker of some kind, open the vault, take all the money out of the vault, go up to the roof, and fly out in a helicopter, make it to safety before the bomb explodes. Vegas has a no-fly zone. What this oddly means is you can fly around Vegas, you can fly out of Vegas, but you can't fly into Vegas. So that means Scott needs to find a safecracker, some people with guns, and a pilot at the very least. The only caveat is that they have to bring along the unfinished Kevin Bacon, who's the head of security for Tanaka, who's going to keep them all honest. As far as plots go, it's not really anything new. I mean, granted, it's a heist movie and a zombie movie smushed together, but separated, it's pretty much straightforward. It's Ocean 11 and Dawn of the Dead mashed together.
Oh, baby's gonna be fine.
Someone called for a doctor?
What could go wrong? I actually like Dave Bautista in this for the most part. I loved him in Hotel Artemis, so I was kind of expecting that he'd be bringing something to the table, and he does. You know, he's fun as Drax. That's more of a wooden character, so a little bit of wooden acting works perfect for that. And he was a touch wooden in this, but, you know, for it being a big dumb zombie action-y kind of movie, that worked just fine. Brought more depth than I was expecting. He had some kind of rough spots with him and his on-screen daughter, but, you know, some of that was her fault, and some of that was just poor writing. The rest of the cast plays out as a super aggressive, hyper trope injected cannon fodder, essentially. You have, in no particular order, Omari Hardwick playing Vandero, who's the stereotypical man's man who's so tough that I imagine he has to go and donate testosterone because he's got too much of it himself. Anna de la Reguera playing Maria Cruz, who's a mechanic and former love interest of Scott's. She helps get the team together. Matthias Schweighofer, who plays Dieter, the talented safecracker, doesn't know how to kill a zombie. Nora Arnezeder plays the coyote, or Lily, who smuggles people in but not always out of the blocked off Vegas. Raul Castillo plays Mikey Guzman, a super hyper Gen Xer that loves killing them zombies, man. Woo! Samantha Wynn plays Chambers, the more competent member of the team, evidently, who is invited by Guzman because she likes to kill zombies and look real serious when she's doing it. Garret Dillahunt plays Martin, security dude that the rich casino owner puts on the team. Tig Notaro, who replaces Chris D'Elia, who's having some minor issues, and is the digitally inserted Marina Peters, their helicopter pilot and resident wiseass. Tig looked okay in most of the scenes that she was in. They did a reasonable job of digitally inserting her into the scenes that she was supposed to be occupying. Fortunately, because she was acting on a green screen, most of her scenes looked like she was acting on a green screen. Now, I know folks are gonna go, wait a minute, why doesn't Tanaka just have the combo for the safe? That way they don't have to try to break in at all. However, I'm just gonna go ahead and give that one a pass and say maybe the gaming regulations don't allow for the owners of the casinos to have the combos to the safes they own. This actually seems like one of the easier what the hell moments to sort of explain away. What doesn't make any sense is that none of the people there thought, man, we need more than 5 duffel bags to get $200,000 of cash up on top of a roof and into a helicopter. Not one single person thought, hey, I should probably bring a cell phone or a walkie-talkie or a flare gun or a couple cans with some string tied between them. Anything to actually communicate with, like Tanaka even said they should do.
If you coordinate and communicate, this should be a simple in and out.
But we don't want to bring those things because it might interfere with the goddamn concrete saw they're going to haul around instead. So due to the no-fly zone, they have to find another way in. Enter Kate, played by Ella Purnell, who quite honestly is one of the more insufferable and just intolerable characters in this entire movie, and that's including the asshole in the beginning that just stood there and watched a bunch of people die, and Martin, the asshole security guard that does some equally awful and horrible shit later. Anyways, she's a volunteer at the quarantine camp. She has a little altercation back and forth thing with one of the members of the camp who wants to break into the zombie infested compound because she wants to steal a few $1,000s before they all get transported to the other quarantine camp that's set up for them in Barstow. This also gives us an opportunity for some foreshadowing while we meet the Coyote. Coyote's a super serious badass who knows how to get into and out of the quarantined off area. It's not explained why she can just hang out in the camp with automatic assault rifles and all kinds of other gear, but she's able to. Anyways, during the altercation, Sergeant Rapo comes along and decides he's going to be super creepy and weird while Kate's super hyper aggressive to him. Captain Creepy proves that he's in charge by pulling out his thermometer and using it like Dirty Harry's revolver to take their temperatures. Somehow that's a display of power. He says something along the lines of, I can make you guys disappear, or I'm in charge here, or I honestly don't remember. I don't think it's important. Feeling like he did enough to piss on the ground in front of him, he leaves him alone. Gita, the lady that she was talking to, gives her some line about, oh no, I'm not going to go in there. Everything's fine. So Scott ends up finding her. They have a weird, awkward back and forth. She makes it really clear that she hates Scott's guts. Scott makes it really clear that he just needs into the quarantine camp. He'll give her a lot of money for it. So she takes a bus in the opposite direction of everybody leaving the quarantine. Nobody thinks that's odd. Drives right into the quarantine camp. Kate introduces the team to the Coyote. The Coyote, not having anything better to do because everybody's left the quarantine zone, she's decided to stay around and help them get inside. Being ever helpful, the Coyote decides that the Rent-A-Cop's gonna come along with them. Whatever, we now trust this lady to make decisions for us and the whole team. Kate realizes that her friend hasn't come back out, throws a little stompy fit, and makes it clear she's gonna go with them. She's gonna bring along a pistol, nothing else. This being one of many absolutely destructive decisions that she makes, Scott has no choice but to let her come along, because she's made it clear she'll go by herself if she has to. So now the team's together. They're ready to go in. And you would think, with how heavily guarded this whole area was, the fact that it's encasing the literal end of humankind, that it would be hard to get into this compound. It's not. It's like 2 hallways and 2 sets of open doors that they walk through and then don't close at all. First sign of zombies that we really get to see are a bunch of sun-dried raisins that are sitting out in front. Coyote talks about how the heat, dries them out, and then when it rains they come back alive and kind of wiggle around, and then we never talk about that again, so it's not important. But this does give me an opportunity to go over all the different kinds of zombies we're about to encounter. We got the freeze-dried zombies, we got the shambler zombies everybody's pretty familiar with, we've got hibernating zombies, we got a zombie tiger, we got a zombie horse that remembers it's a horse, we've got cyborg zombies, we've got zombies that can run fast, we got zombies that can jump high, we got zombies that can talk to each other in some sort of zombie speak, we got a zombie queen, we got a zombie king, we got a zombie baby. While I do appreciate the attempt that Zack's made at creating new zombies, this is a situation where he's at his try-hardy worst. So anyways, they're all inside the compound, and the Coyote shoots the rapey guard in the leg, and he falls down, and everybody's like, what the f***? And she's like, well, in order for us to buy passage, we have to give up a sacrifice of some kind. Now everybody's as confused as the audience as to 1, how she could possibly f***ing know that, and 2, does that mean that the other people that have gone in with her and haven't made it back out have actually ended up as some sort of bargaining chip? What kind of serial killer shit is that? And they have this little conversation about the fact that Martin, the security guy, is fully expendable and everybody kind of hopes he dies. So they move on, and they're about to enter this hallway that's just full of all kinds of bullshit. Inexplicably is completely saturated with hibernating zombies. There being absolutely no other way in or out of this casino outside of this one hallway that's full of these zombies. It turns out that flashlights, when shined in the faces of the zombies, can cause them to wake up. They decide that Scott, who somehow can see in the dark, is going to lead the way. He's going to drop glow sticks on the ground so everybody can follow the path that he takes. Everybody else, being completely blind in this situation, has no choice choice but to follow these little glow sticks. Martin, being just stupid, decides that now's the best chance for him to try to take out one of the members of the team. He takes one of the glow sticks and throws it down a different direction. Chambers, not being able to make any decisions for herself, goes right exactly where the glow stick is. Even though there's other glow sticks that I'm sure she can clearly see, that's the only glow stick she's gonna go for. So Martin, after basically compromising the entire mission, he leaves her to die. She showcases some incredible moves by taking out zombies left and right in an attempt to escape the whole situation. The rest of the zombies wake up and the whole team runs for the hills. Martin puts a little bar in between the doors so she can't get out. She looks like she's certainly trapped and gonna die. He books it and Guzman's like, "Where's Chambers?" And Martin's like, "Oh," and Chambers comes crashing through the window. Luckily, she's only like 8 feet away, so they gun down all the zombies and save her life. No, that would make sense. This is time number 2 that somebody with an automatic weapon who's very competent in its usage just stands there and stares. Meanwhile, there's 5 zombies that are social distancing around her, watching her essentially breakdance. And the only thing Guzman can do is make weird frowny faces and tell her to get out of there. Fortunately, the words of encouragement aren't as impactful as the rounds in the gun that he could be firing, and she dies. Just before she dies, she does the only thing she could think to do, which isn't tell Guzman that Martin is the reason why this all happened, and instead says, "Go. Run." And so Guzman takes the opportunity to shoot what could only be a thermite round into the gas can, blowing up the hallway and killing a bunch of zombies. Now you would think that this would be some sort of a moment, be a little upset that they just lost a team member and that zombies are awake. Nobody really says anything about it. They all just carry on as if it were Tuesday. So around this time, the team decides to split up. 3 of its members go down into the basement: Vandero, Dieter, and Maria. 2 of the members, Scott and Kate, go upstairs to turn on the power. Meanwhile, the Coyote and Martin go back to the entrance that they used to get into the compound. It turns out that the entire heist is really just a setup so Martin can steal the head off the queen zombie that somehow they know about and sell it to people on the streets that might use it to make a zombie army. You might be asking yourself, why the f didn't Tanaka just hire a bunch of people to go in and do literally that? But honestly, I would encourage you not to think too deeply about that, because Zack certainly didn't.
I'm gonna shoot the entire movie wide open. There's never going to be a stop on any lens for the entire film.
They almost get killed by some zombies while they're trying to get the queen's head. The Coyote, following in theme with everybody else, spends a just ridiculous amount of time hesitating before shooting and saving Martin's life. Of course, he would be the one that's saved in this situation, but you know, whatever. Martin decides, since he's only basically 20 feet from the entrance that got him in here, that the smart move is to go back down into the vault that's part of a heist that was all a setup, and hopefully make it up to the helicopter alive and fly out before the bomb drops. So while they're off screwing around doing that and getting zombie queen head, Kate and Scott are upstairs turning the power on. Kate and Scott decide that now's the time to have a conversation to resolve some issues that the two have had for years, and we find out that Kate's not super mad at Scott because Scott had to kill her mom in front of her. Kate's actually mad because they didn't communicate enough. Meanwhile, Scott's incredibly fucked up by the fact that he had to kill her mom in front of her with a knife during a zombie outbreak he had to fight through. Anyways, the heart-to-heart doesn't go well. We realize that Kate's kind of unreasonable. Meanwhile, Vandero, Maria, and Dieter down in the vault. Oh, and Peters is up at the helicopter messing around with that thing, because not only is she a helicopter pilot, but she's a helicopter mechanic. So back down to the vault. Vandero makes some weird speech about time loopy shit while looking at some dead bodies that have similar garb and regalia that they have. Don't worry, we don't revisit that either. Dieter figures out that the pressure plates in the floor cause all kinds of weird booby traps to happen, so they decide that instead of using the dead bodies to use on the pressure plates, the only solution is to get a zombie from upstairs and try to coax him to walk across the floor and set off all the traps. This is where we find out that if you heat up zombie meat and throw it, zombies will go after it like a dog chasing a bone. Now I can only assume this only works because it's a microwave heating it up and not the sun, because otherwise, you know, there'd be a whole Vegas buffet of zombies having a a good old time upstairs. We also find out that the pressure plates set off literal Indiana Jones style traps, one of which is a bunch of darts, another one is a bunch of machine guns that come out of the wall, and a final one is mechanized giant concrete pillars that smush whatever's in its way. They make it to the vault door. Dieter is now preparing himself to finally break into the vault that's sort of like an art piece for him. So as an artist would, he brings out all of his tools. Those tools are his ears and a pencil. And that's it. That's all he needs to break into the most difficult to break into vault. So while Dieter's all click, 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 the rest of the team meets up with them down in the vault. And they're in. The vault opens because of course it would. Everybody goes inside and we get the first glimpse of what's possibly multiple tons worth of cash. They bust out their handful of duffel bags and get to work packing it up. And as they're about to head over to the elevator and go upstairs and escape the entire mess, since the bomb is going to be dropping a hell of a lot sooner than expected and they have like 30 minutes to make it out alive, Maria decides that now's a good time to have this conversation about that unresolved baggage I mentioned earlier. She's all like, I know this is a bad time, but I really think we should talk about that time that me and you had together and how everything went wrong. Meanwhile, Scott's like, God damn, lady, can you just shut the hell up so we can get on this helicopter? What the f***? Somewhere in there, we find out that the zombie king's really upset about the fact that his zombie queen's dead. We get the first glimpse of the fact that he has feelings, and that makes sense. We also get to find out that the zombie queen had a zombie baby, and the zombie baby lives. Don't worry, we don't talk about that ever again, so it's not important. What is important is the zombie king, who somehow can smithy a helmet out of metal, but doesn't know how a ladder works. He decides he's gonna get his revenge. So while they're having their moment in the safe, he's getting together a couple of his troops and they're gonna go raid the hotel. Maria's speech is interrupted by her head getting twisted off, which honestly was one of the funnier parts of the movie and probably shouldn't have been. And a little tussle happens. They take care of the first wave of zombies and some of them try to make a break for it. Scott realizes that Kate's f***ed off to go find her friend because she's a goddamn asshole and decides his only option is to go find her. Luckily, Kate knows exactly where Gita's at, and luckily, Scott knows exactly where Kate went. After fighting a zombie that knows kung fu, he has to fight his way through a horde of zombies, a couple of which are cyborg zombies, I guess. While he's doing that, the zombie king decides he's gonna go down to the vault. Vandero, thinking for some reason he can go toe to toe with the extremely powerful zombie king, puts his dukes up. They tussle, sort of, more of an ass whooping. And while that's all going on, Dieter decides that the smart move is to push Vandero into the vault, close the door on him. You know, the one that can't be unlocked by anybody except for Dieter. So Kate makes it across town in record time. Scott uses the helicopter to fly across town to get there roughly around the same time that she did. This is where I assume that Zack Snyder has no concept of time and space. The zombie king's able to get down to the bottom floor of the casino, onto his horse, over across town, then back up to the top floor of that casino, before Scott's able to fly there in a helicopter. So Kate and the zombie are having a showdown because Scott can't move a mattress that's leaned up against the door. She fires a couple rounds and it hits the mask and her gun runs out of bullets. Since she's literally right next to a staircase, a couple doorways and a window, her only option is to stand there while the zombie runs down the hallway. And her friend Gita is also just standing there, watching this zombie come down the hallway with murderous intent. Scott, with the help of gravity, is finally able to move that f***ing mattress. He gets up the staircase, makes it through the doorway, and uses a grenade launcher to send the zombie down the hall. Realizing that his daughter is in fact a complete and utter f***ing idiot, he gets her out onto the roof with her friend Gita, and they're about to get on the helicopter, but the helicopter's not there. Evidently, helicopters make absolutely no noise when they're a floor below the one you're on. It sneaks up on him and comes up around the top. It turns out that old Marianne was just conflicted about whether or not she was going to leave in time or if she was going to stay and help her friends. She managed to grow a conscience and everybody's able to get on the helicopter. The zombie king, steaming and pissed off, decides he's going to jump into the helicopter with him. Scott and the zombie tussle. Scott has a gun. Scott, following the main theme of the movie, which is hesitate when armed, doesn't pop off a couple rounds when he could and pops off a couple rounds when he shouldn't, and shoots Mary Ann. She didn't like that very much and is having a hard time flying the helicopter. Meanwhile, the Zombie King's pretty upset about that situation as well and breaks Scott's arm. He drops the gun. Kate sees the gun, makes the only rational choice she can by grabbing the fire extinguisher and hitting the zombie on the head. This gives Scott the chance to grab the gun and the zombie the chance to bite Scott. The tussle continues. The flying becomes more erratic, and at some point the Zombie King gets shot and killed. The helicopter crashes and Scott and Kate make it out alive, and we see that Scott's going to become a zombie. Kate and Scott finally make up after all of this, and she has to shoot him in the head. And then she walks off. I don't know where she goes. I don't think it's important. The end. But wait, there's more. Zoom in on the vault. Luckily, the nuclear explosion only took care of the building that was on top of the vault and somehow triggered the door to open wide. Banderow, completely unscathed, comes out of the vault with a couple of bags of money. Since plot armor completely protects him against radiation and fallout and heat and debris, he's able to walk off into the sunset. He finds a house a couple miles away, gets in a car, drives to Utah or something, and finds a private airplane, rents it with a couple handfuls of cash, flies off into the distance. He hangs out for a few minutes or a few hours, I don't know, time no longer makes any goddamn sense in this movie. He has a toast with the people on the plane, and we find out when he goes into the bathroom that he was actually bitten by a zombie. There's no explanation as to why it's taken him so long to turn. Anyways, the movie ends. It seems like Zack has some ideas for this series. He's got a movie planned, he's got a whole Netflix special planned. I can't imagine where it's gonna go with time loops involved, with aliens, with cyborgs, whatever the hell else he's gonna try to just smash into this. He couldn't handle a heist and a zombie genre mix. I don't know how he's gonna handle the rest of this stuff. I only hope he actually hires a different writer for literally any of it. If he's going to have full creative control, I honestly don't know if I'm going to bring myself to even watch what comes after this. I mean, the decision making overall, most of the characters was completely baffling, which fine. They're all stupid for some reason. But all of the other just plot holes are so obvious that it's clear that he either saw them and just didn't think we were smart enough to catch on to those, which is likely, or he was so tunnel visioned on this idea that he had that he completely ignored them, which is also likely.
I came up with this idea for this mythology of the safes based on Wagner's Ring Cycle.
Either way, I had a really hard time even watching this, let alone liking it. There were some enjoyable parts, some of the action scenes were fun, and if you removed the fact that it was completely ridiculous, the whole zombie marching down the hallway scene was actually pretty funny. Now, it didn't make any sense because, again, they could have used anything to set those traps off, and why were those traps like that? What kind of a safe uses machine guns and concrete pillars to deter people? I just couldn't suspend disbelief enough to make this movie make a lot of sense for me. And when it was over, I was kind of glad it was. It's 2.5 hours long. There's no reason for it to be 2.5 hours long. It might be that television's the perfect medium for Zack. Honestly, when he's given a restrained time limit, he seems to excel. This is what Bautista chose over Suicide Squad. And I mean, I understand why he did it. As much as he likes working with James Gunn, he didn't want to be a part of an ensemble. He wanted to go off and do his own thing, be a lead in a movie. It's unfortunate it happened to be this one. I just didn't like the movie. So I'm gonna have to give this 2 out of 5 stars. If you like the content, do the thing. I'm the Beardo. Till next time.